Hey everybody, I'm Joe. So I'm continuing a series where we are talking about this, the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, the official superhero role-playing game being published by Marvel. Normal disclaimer that I give at the top of each of these videos, at the time of recording, there have been 3 updates to the playtest rulebook. In the future, there might be additional modifications or new powers listed that would alter some of the stuff that we're talking about today. If that happens, I'll make some videos doing updated information. But right now, I want to talk about the 10 best powers that are presented inside of this game and what they do and why they're so amazing. So let's jump into it. By the way, a little prerequisite as we get started. I am prioritizing things that are for lower ranked characters because that's where most of the game will be played. I also am going to have more of an eye towards things that have lower prerequisite values because it's easier to take them and use them, and for things that allow you to solve problems outside of combat as well. Things that just give an edge or extra damage in combat are nice, but they will not necessarily make my list. Coming in at number 10 on our list of the 10 best powers in the game is Reverse Momentum Throw. This wonderful little power found on page 85 requires martial arts power set. It requires you have already taken the power defense stance, and it requires a rank of 2. So pretty low requirements. Anybody getting into the martial arts power set is going to take defense stance. This wonderful little power is a reaction power that works like this. Somebody makes a melee attack against you, they miss, and you automatically can trigger your reaction power, utilize your reaction, they are flipped, they are knocked prone, and they take damage. Please note that you don't have to roll for the damage. Someone misses you, they take the damage, and they are knocked prone. That's good as it is, but it gets a little bit better. Earlier in the playtest rulebook, it specifically states that you can break concentration by knocking someone prone. Meaning that if somebody concentrating on a power misses you with the melee attack, they immediately lose concentration on the power. It happens automatically, there's no dice roll associated, and as a result, this is one of the 10 best powers in the game. Coming in at number 9 on our list of the 10 best powers is a wonderful little power that is on page 90 of the playtest rulebook, and that is Thermal Vision. Thermal Vision has so many benefits to it. It increases your vigilance, both for your abilities and for your defense, and it requires nothing. It is not part of the power set. It is a utility power. It has no rank prerequisite of any kind and no power prerequisite of any kind. You can just decide you have thermal vision. And as a result, you can not only get this benefit to your vigilance score, but you can also see people in total darkness and who are invisible, negating an entire power set of invisibility that some of your villains might have. Thermal vision will prove to be endlessly useful in a variety of situations, and it costs you nothing other than the power slot to pick up. Wonderful power. Coming in at number 8 on our list of the best powers in the game, there is a wonderful gem called Healing Factor that is on page 79 of the original playtest rulebook, but please note it was updated in the second rules update, and that's found on page 6 of the larger document. Healing Factor has no prerequisites of any kind. There's no rank prerequisite, no power set, no power requirement, and it very specifically is a permanent or always on power that just says that at the end of every turn you regain hit points that is equal to your resilience modifier. That's it. That's incredible when you think about a couple implications of this power. The first is that in the set of powers and power sets that are already presented, there is no capacity to heal someone else. This is a glaring missing part of the game that I hope is corrected in the future. But right now, if you go down, there's very limited capacity to be able to get back up during combat. There is a self-healing mechanism that was introduced in the most recent playtest material, but other than that, there's Healing Factor. And Healing Factor gets even better. Please note that it says that you end your turn and you gain hit points. It does not state that you have to be conscious. So yes, you'll heal during combat. Yes, you'll heal fast outside of combat. But more than that, if you go down to 0 hit points at the end of your turn, you're going to climb back up an amount of points equal to your resilience modifier. This is an incredible power. It costs you very little to be able to take it, and it will make any character a little bit more resilient. Awesome power. Coming in at number 7 on our list of the 10 best powers is a wonderful little power found on page 77 of the original playtest material, and that is flexible fingers. This is a power that is a problem-solving power, and it only requires that you are part of the plasticity power set. Now, I have a bias in this list, and generally speaking as a player, for powers that may not do more damage, but allow me to solve more interesting problems and do more things, because combat should really only be about 1/3 of any RPG game system. 2/3 of the game is social interactions and problem solving. And many of the powers listed give you an edge of some kind in combat. But outside of combat, you can't do very much. Flexible Fingers solves this, and Flexible Fingers allows you to reshape your fingers, specifically to be able to create a key to open any lock, but you can also reshape your hands into any set of simple tools that you can imagine. The player creativity with this power is unbelievable and absolutely should be exploited. You want somebody in your team at your table who has taken Flexible Fingers, because you will be able to solve so many problems that arise in RPGs. This has almost unlimited usefulness and absolutely is something you should consider taking. Coming in at number 6 on our list of the 10 best powers in the game, we have Change of Plans, which is found on page 72 of the playtest document. This requires a rank of 2. It also requires that you have taken a power that I think is a little bit not that great, called Inspiration, but Change of Plans is fantastic. It's a reaction power, and it works like this. An ally of yours that is within a certain range has trouble on some sort of an ability, you use your reaction, and now they have an edge. That's it. That's simple. You negate trouble from any source for one of your allies, and all of a sudden, they now are more likely to be able to succeed. If you have that player who needs to be able to jump from building to building, or needs to land that big blow against the enemy, you can make that happen. I love powers that are selfless, where you are making the rest of the team better. I think these are just better gameplay and more fun than just a selfish power which just allows you to do more damage. This type of capacity is wonderful, and the player who has this is going to be beloved at the table. Coming in at number 5 is a wonderful power found on page 70 of the playtest document, but it was revised in one of the rules updates. This is part of the Tactical Mastery power set. It requires Inspiration as a power and rank of 2, and that is Battle Plan. This wonderful little power gives you the ability to have a 1-round benefit. So it's not an instant, it is a 1-round power where all allies up to your ego modifier all of a sudden have an edge on all action checks they need to do. That can be anything from an attack roll to some other type of thing they need to do to influence the environment. It is endlessly useful because it does not just inform combat, but also the non-combat things you might be doing, such as problem solving, and it affects multiple allies at the same time. This is a wonderful power, and I honestly could see building a character around the ability to make the rest of the team better, with Battle Plan being the core thing that he does. All right, we're getting into the home stretch now. So what is the 4th best power in Marvel Multiverse? I would argue it's a power found on page 79 of the playtest rulebook called Holographic Illusion. This is, in all likelihood, the power that is going to generate the most interesting stories at your table of anything in the playtest document, and quite possibly is the power that's going to be the most game-breaking in its implications. Holographic Illusion is an energy control power set power. It requires a rank of 2, and it requires the power Illumination. Here's the way that it works. Holographic Illusion allows you to create an illusion that can move in any way you want, though it cannot make sound, and is visible from 100 yards away. It can also be 3 sizes larger than you, so this can be pretty big. Other than that, there are no limitations. You want to create something that looks like a monster that is guarding an area to stop your enemies from following you, you can do that. You want to create a bridge that maybe your enemies might try to cross, you can do that. You want to create a fake wall that you can hide behind, you can do that. Yes, the enemies need to or can make a check to see if they can see that it is an illusion, but honestly, a lot wouldn't even think to do that. And then of course they have to make a check against a TN that is reasonably high. Holographic Illusion is endlessly fun, and it's one of those powers that a creative player will be able to take and just do unbelievably fun things with. I could honestly see building a character around this type of fun gameplay, and it'd be great at the table. So what is the third best power in the game? We're getting into some amazing ones right now, and the third best power in the game is, well, I couldn't decide on one. Instead, a grouping of powers that are not in the published playtest rulebook, they are in the most recent update, all tie for number 3, and I call these the SAD powers. SAD is a term in the RPG community that stands for single attribute dependent, and this is as opposed to MAD, or multiple attribute dependent. The concept works like this. You have a certain amount of points for your ability score buy-in, and you'd like for your attacks, the thing that you do, to be really good, but every point that you buy in to that single attribute makes you worse at other stuff. And you look at it and you're like, well, maybe I should be more well-rounded, or maybe I need to be able to have good agility and good logic and good ego. And it's a difficult decision to make. But if there were a way to make your character rely on only a single attribute more often, then you could pump up that score as high as you can possibly take it. And this is a SAD character as opposed to a MAD character. With the most recent set of powers released in the rules alteration, we have a set of powers that work like this. There is integrity, there is evasion, and let me tell you the idea of the way that these work. I'll give you one example. Integrity allows a character to use logic as a defense score against ego attacks. So let's say that you're building a character that does psychic attacks using logic, and everything that you're building is logic based. Well, wouldn't it be nice to be able to dump your ego score down to a 0 or even a negative number, and then use your logic score to defend against ego attacks, making you more of a single attribute dependent character as opposed to a multiple attribute dependent character? Well, integrity does that. There are a number of these that are listed inside of the most recent update, and they can take a character and allow you to tailor it to one specific score or a smaller number of scores, which is cool. So what is the second best power in the game of Marvel Multiverse? What comes in as second best or runner-up? This is found on page 75, and it is energy absorption. And full disclosure, this was going to be my pick for the most powerful thing that you can take in the game. However, I believe it is going to be changed or altered before the final publication of the game, and as a result, I think that it's going to wind up being the number 2 power. Even if it is altered, it still is amazing. This requires the energy control power set and a rank of 3. And what this allows you to do is take energy damage and then ignore it, that's the phrase inside of the description, and add that value to your focus value. So if you would have taken 10 points of damage, you instead just get to add 10 to your focus score. This value of focus that you have can go above your max limit and can be spent all at once. Normally you are restricted to the amount of focus you can spend in the game, but not with this added focus through energy absorption. This is unbelievably powerful. Now, why do I think this is going to be changed? Well, the reason is that there used to be, in the original rulebook, types of damage: energy, cold, slashing, bashing, and all of these have been removed in the most recent update of the rules. Now, this power specifically states you take energy damage, but there's no such thing as energy damage anymore. I think that your narrator just has to make a ruling on if something would count for you to trigger this power. But if it does, you get to just add focus to your scores. That focus is then spent, because focus is a power that gets spent as you want it to be. And let's just make one combo, and there are a number of these. This is not even the best combo. But what if you took another power set, the martial arts power set, and took the power Do This All Day? Do This All Day allows you to spend a point of focus to regain 2 health. Well, now when somebody tries to hit you with energy, you are doubling that value for healing, which is an amazing trade-off considering rules as written, you didn't even take damage to begin with. Even if you did, you would be able to heal an amount equal to the damage since you took the damage and then doubled it. Energy absorption is not only insanely powerful, but it also pairs to create some of the best combos in the game. And that's why it's our second best power. Our next power in the game, the best power you can choose in Marvel Multiverse, is one that you won't even find as a power in the playtest rulebook. This power is so good, it used to be a trait, and they had to take it and make it a power because it was so good. And that is Combat Trickery, found now as a power listed inside of the most recent update to the rules on page 6. Combat Trickery works like this. There is no power set prerequisite. There is no rank or other power prerequisite of any kind. Once per battle, you get to decide, after rolling your 3d6, that the Marvel die is a 1. In other words, you get to just decide once per battle that you have a fantastic success. That's it. That's the whole power. Now, the fact that anybody can take this is incredible, and they can take it at any point. But what makes this so over the top good is how it pairs with other powers. Let me let you on what I'm talking about. There is a entry-level power called Energy Beam. It requires the energy control power set, but no other prerequisites. The way that it works is you make an attack, and if the attack is a fantastic success, which by definition is a 1 on the Marvel die, the enemy not only takes damage, but is blind. There's another power that's called Clobber. This is an entry-level power that is in the Super Strength power set, and this is you make an attack, and if it's a fantastic success, the enemy is knocked prone and takes double damage. Now, here's where this fits together. You have an enemy that you really need to take down. At the very first levels of play, at rank 1, you could take Energy Beam and Combat Trickery and just decide in the first round of combat that enemy is going blind. And there's nothing that the narrator can do about it. There's no ability that the bad guy can have that can stop this. The Combat Trickery rule says that the 1 on the Marvel die happens after and ignores any trouble or any other mechanic in the game. So, round 1 of combat, you run in, you see the big villain, and you just decide, I'm going to use Energy Beam, it's going to be a 1, that enemy is blind, for 1 round of combat. Or if your character has Clobber, runs up to a monster that is concentrating on a powerful effect and just decides you're losing concentration, and there's nothing that the villain can do about it. Combat Trickery is the power that creates the single best combos in the game, It is so reliable, and it can be done once per battle. Now, battle is not officially defined in the rulebook, but I would reasonably define it as when initiative is called for. That's a battle. And to be able to trigger another devastating effect without a roll even associated with it makes this the single best power in the game. All right, so that is my list of the 10 best powers in the game. Are there ones that you really like that you didn't see in here? What runners-up would you choose? For me, my main runner-up is additional limbs, but what would it be for you? And what would you be excited to bring to life at your table? All right, thanks for joining me, and may your games be awesome.